Today, the United States marks 24 years since the September 11th attacks, a day that changed the course of history. Nearly 3,000 people were killed when hijacked planes struck New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania. Baraka Agberemi looks back at what happened and the legacy it left behind.
On September 11, 2001, the United States of America came under attack. 4 passenger planes were hijacked and turned into weapons. 2 of them struck the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York, 17 minutes apart. Within hours, both 110-story buildings collapsed, covering the city in smoke and dust. A 3rd plane slammed into the Pentagon, the head of the U.S. military just outside Washington. The 4th crashed in a field in Pennsylvania after passengers tried to overpower the hijackers. Investigators believe its target was the U.S. Capitol. In all, 2,977 persons were killed, including 441 first responders. Victims ranged from a 2-year-old girl to an 82-year-old man. Citizens of 77 countries were among the dead.
We need to humanize what happened those 24 years ago.
The attackers belonged to Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. The group claimed it was acting against U.S. influence in the Muslim world. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, believed to be the mastermind, has been held in Guantanamo Bay since 2006. His trial has dragged on for years, with no clear resolution in sight. The attacks triggered America's longest war. U.S. troops invaded Afghanistan less than a month later. Bin Laden himself was killed in Pakistan 10 years after 9/11.
We quickly learned that the 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda, an organization headed by Osama bin Laden, which had openly declared war on the United States and was committed to killing innocents in our country and around the globe. And so we went to war against Al-Qaeda to protect our citizens, our friends, and our allies. Over the last 10 years, thanks to the tireless and heroic work of our military and our counterterrorism professionals, we've made great strides in that effort. We've disrupted terrorist attacks and strengthened our homeland defense. In Afghanistan, we removed the Taliban government, which had given bin Laden and al-Qaeda safe haven and support. And around the globe, we worked with our friends and allies to capture or kill scores of al-Qaeda terrorists, including several who were a part of the 9/11 plot.
The legacy of that day is still felt. Flight security was overhauled worldwide. The cleanup of Ground Zero lasted 8 months. In its place, the One World Center now rises higher than the original towers. For survivors and families, the pain never fades. Each year, Americans pause to remember the lives lost and the day that reshaped a nation. 24 years on, the attacks of September 11 remain a defining moment in U.S. history and a reminder of both tragedy and resilience. Baraka Agberemi, TVC News.
Let's bring in partner Gainful Solution in Washington, D.C., Stephen Hayes, for more on this development. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10. Everyone appears to have a personal connection with a story to tell from 9/11. What's yours, and how has it shaped your outlook on America's national security journey since that day?
Well, you're right. I think everyone remembers where they were that particular day, just as they remember in this country the day where they were when President Kennedy was assassinated. My story is somewhat different in the sense that there is an Africa connection and there is a very personal connection. The chairman, I was at that time head of the Corporate Council on Africa, which was ready to convene a major U.S. Africa conference, and there was 20 heads of state coming. We were going to do it in Philadelphia, and at that time, we were ready to go to Philadelphia, and then the planes hit the World Trade Center. I was watching that, and then the plane hit the Pentagon, which was about 5 miles or less from where our offices were. Shortly after it hit the Pentagon, I got a call from my chairman of the board, who was Maurice Templesman, and he told me that his son-in-law was in the plane that hit the Pentagon, and of course he was dead. His daughter was in Washington, D.C., and he asked me to be sure to get her up to New York right away. The problem was that every bit of transportation was shut down because of security. No buses were moving, no trains were moving, no planes were moving, and most of the taxis were all taken up as well. And she was a student at Georgetown University, so I had to negotiate with the Georgetown grief counselors to allow her to go. Finally found a limo company that was willing to drive. And what would normally have been a 3 to 4 hour drive was an 8 to 10 hour drive for her to New York, which must have been horrible. So having dealt with that, and at the same time, we canceled our conference in Africa. Would have been the single largest assemblage of heads of state from Africa at that time. So it was a very personal moment for me.
Well, it looks like everything just paused for a moment, and 25 years after, it's still, you're recounting it as if it happened just yesterday. But many are now talking about what has happened with trillions of dollars spent on fighting terrorism. How much has America achieved? Al-Qaeda, no doubt, is weakened, but terrorism is evolving into new threats like ISIS and homegrown extremism. From your perspective in Washington, what key lessons has America learned or failed to learn since 9/11?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we've learned the right lessons. We reacted as we necessarily had to react. We certainly, I think, made mistakes on Afghanistan. And I don't think that the war in Iraq would have happened in the same way either had it not been for 9/11. I think it hurt the self-confidence of the American people quite a bit. We thought we were an impregnable force up to that time. And I think that we have spent a lot of money chasing terrorism as opposed to perhaps going to the source of the problems and also going to more dialogue. That hasn't really changed that much. Our policies today now are counterterrorism first as opposed to development, and I think that's not helped the country. I understand why it is, but I think it's been a mistake in strategic planning.
And there's no doubt that 9/11 actually changed the face of things in America, the U.S. foreign policy, global order. But just yesterday, we're looking at the issue of another political assassination. What do you make of this new wave of extremism, gun control controversies? How has things rapidly changed in the quarter of a century?
Well, I'm not sure that it has changed that much because this reminds me of the period of the 1960s when President Kennedy was assassinated, Martin Luther King was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy was, and on the right, George Wallace. So it's a cyclic period in a way, except that I think the country is far more divided now than it has been since the Civil War. And I think the division is hurting, is terribly hurting this country. And I think also social media is out of control. Last night in Utah was tragic. There was a very good young man who had strong opinions. Not all of us agree with it at all times, but he was doing them freely and open debate, which is what this country should be about. I think the problem is now that we are a very deeply divided society, which is also others have taken advantage of that. And I think we've got to find a way to come together. Particularly, I will say that I think we need leadership that does not divide, but brings people together.
Indeed. Well, we'll see what happens in the coming days and how the world rally around to actually win this very big challenge together. Stephen Hayes is partner Gainful Solutions. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you. It's an honor as usual. Thank you.